Shoemaker, Shoemaker Guitar Works. So I'm back here with the 1928 Stromberg voisinette. I have fixed the crack in the fretboard. I filled it in with some ebony dust and some black CA glue. And I've started to do my work here on making what I call shine juice, I guess, to make these things, making these things look nice. So what I wanted to show you here is kind of how I go about doing it. So this is my mix of what I use on fretboards, and it's got boiled linseed oil in it, it's got beeswax in it, it's got some citrus oil, and it's got a couple other things. It's really good for your guitar, especially on a pretty much raw finish like this. It really helps protect it and keeps the moisture in there and whatever. That's why it works so well on fretboards. I get fretboards all the time that are dried out really bad and have frets popping, and a coat or two of this and just, you know, let it put it on there and it works really well. But in order to bring a little shine to this guitar, I have another trick. So I use the Minwax or Johnson's paste wax, which is actually furniture wax. And what I do is take my little torch. You can use a heat gun, whatever. It's probably actually safer to use a heat gun because this does have a tendency to flame up a little bit sometimes. And I just heat it up. Get a nice little pool of it going there. Take an old t-shirt, I dip it in that, and then I take my oil here. That's a little excessive, so I'll take my oil, put some of that on here, and I just rub and rub and rub, and it's almost like a French polish would be. I actually learned this from a gunsmith, and he did this on gun stocks, and it worked really, really good. He just used straight boiled linseed oil and beeswax. He melded the beeswax and put it in with the boiled linseed oil, and then you just rub and rub and rub and rub and rub. I'm actually gonna put a little more. And I want it on the bridge too, because I want that bridge to be moisturized, and I've already done the fretboard a few times now. But you just keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing and rub this stuff in really good. Not only does it put a protective layer on the guitar, it moisturizes it some, it cleans it, and makes it shine again. Let that sit for a second. I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna do it in the opposite order this time. I'm gonna dip and then get some of that on here. And I'm gonna rub it again. I was watching YouTube last night, and one of the luthier channels I watch is Rosa String Works, and Jerry Rosa out of Missouri, bluegrass musician, makes some killer instruments and restores a lot of cool instruments. And they were working on a 1928, I think it was, Harmony Charles Lindbergh guitar. And, you know, it was to commemorate Lindbergh flying his plane across the ocean in record time. and super neat guitar. The bridge on this one, you know, it's kind of fancy. It's shaped kind of neat, like a, I don't know, a little bit of a bow tie or whatever. But anyway, the bridge on that guitar is shaped like an airplane, and super neat. They had to actually make a new bridge for it. And they made it airplane shaped. They actually made it a little bit bigger because the original bridges were small, and that's a part of the problem with these old guitars, is that the bridges and the bridge plates are made too small, and then the top starts doing weird things and cracks and whatever else. I don't know if you can see the difference here, but I sure can. And it really makes these things shine when you do this. Now I'm going to take another rag that's clean and dry, doesn't have anything on it, and clean it up. You can do this as many times as you want. Like right in here where the finish is worn, I'm gonna concentrate some more on that area. Just to try and protect these flowers. And this is it's made with lacquer, but it's actually a decal that they put on these things. And then they used nitrocellulose lacquer to clear over it. And you can let it sit on there for a while and dry out. You don't have to. But it really, really brings the shine. So if you want to do this at home, you can get you some boiled linseed oil and some furniture wax, heat that up, and you can, put it on a rag just like I just did, and rub it in and rub it in and rub it in and keep rubbing it in. And right now this thing is smooth, it's clean, it's protected, it moisturizes the wood, which is exactly what we want to do on almost 100-year-old guitar. And it's an anomaly that these things still exist, because this one here was a little bit more expensive, but most of these were, got an itch, very cheap guitars. So I don't know if you can tell the difference there, but it made a huge difference. And so let me bring you in closer, and I'm gonna kind of show you on the back here, and I'll do the sides separately, but just want to bring you in closer. And now you can see how messy my bench is. Which is not a big deal. It's just the stuff that I use every day. So there's some scratches and whatever in the back of this. It's old. So I will do the same thing again, heat this up. This little micro torch is actually for soldering, and I got it when I was a motorcycle mechanic and used to solder up rusty gas tanks with it, and it worked really good. But it works good for other things too, so Got a decent amount of both of those on here. If you'd like to buy some of my fretboard oil, I do have it for sale here. Little bottle like this one are $10 a bottle, and that bottle will last you a long time if you're just using it on fretboards. And I'll probably do this 3 or 4 more times to the entire guitar before I put strings on it. This is what I call old guitar shine juice. Does not hurt the finish one bit, and it actually helps. The only thing is you cannot put any lacquer or anything over this. You have to clean it off with naphtha because it's got wax in it, of course, and so if you were to want to touch this thing up, it wouldn't, the paint wouldn't stick. So, I've got first layer on there, and I'm just gonna kind of wipe it down with this. It also helps, you know, when you got scratches and stuff, it helps kind of blend them in. That. And I'll take this dry rag and kind of polish it up some. Like I say, I'm going to do this 2 or 3 more times. I do it in layers, a little bit at a time. But now it's nice and smooth and actually looks good, or compared to how it was anyway. So then, if you really want to, you could just take the wax and put the wax on there, and that would clean it up. I prefer to still do both. Do a second layer here. You can actually pour this stuff on here, spread it around. When I put it on fretboards, that's why I have it in little bottles like this, because I just use the dropper and put it all along the whole entire fretboard. And then when I'm finished with doing all of this, and I've got a nice sheen that I'm happy with, I will go ahead and put a coat of Renaissance wax on the whole thing. And I don't know if you've ever used Renaissance wax, but Renaissance wax is a microcrystalline wax. This little bottle is pretty expensive, but they use this stuff to protect paintings and whatever else in museums, paintings and statues and whatever else. And it dries hard and it dries almost instantly. So it's kind of like the modern automotive ceramic coat that they do to cars now when they do like a paint correction to them, and it gives a layer of protection and keeps that shine, makes it harder to scratch. And then again with the dry rag. And it's far from perfect, but it's just makes for a nicer looking finish when you're trying to protect this 100-year-old lacquer. If you really wanted to, you could wet sand it lightly with like 1,000 grit or 1,200 grit, and then buff it up with something like ultra finishing polish or something like that. But you're going to get an unnatural kind of finish to it. These guitars didn't really shine to begin with. So there's the top. Like I say, I'm going to do probably a couple more layers to the whole thing. I'm going to do the back here, the sides. I'll do the headstock. I'll do the neck. It also makes, when you do the neck, it makes the neck nice and fast to play. You can do the same thing to the fretboard. All the wax does is add an extra layer of protection and make it slicker and easier to play. We've already done the fretboard, but that doesn't mean that I don't need to do it again. My opinion on these old guitars, especially the ones that have been sitting around for 50, 60 years, you can't get enough moisture back into this wood. So you can see here where I repaired the fretboard, and you can still see the crack, but it's completely filled in now. And you can see how nice this makes this old ebony look. Shiny as a brand new pair of boots. And I've already cleaned up the frets, cleaned up the fret ends so they're not near as pointy. And that was one of the worst things about these guitars, is they had horrible fret jobs on them. I still may have to go through and level it. I'm hoping I don't have to, because these are such thin frets. Really don't want to refret it because it'll lose its originality. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and I hope you learned something about the shine juice. So have a great day, guys. Hit that thumbs up.